But
Clearly, I'm having a
but
laugh.
no point
Who
for
knows why
proximity. This
Rogan was
guy's
off the day
way
Guy
out there
came to
still.
meet his hero? Maybe
Okay,
he had a
about
late night at the mothership green room
175
and didn't get
yards
a
to
chance
go
to
here.
take a mid-morning nap in his ice bath. Whatever it was, though, everyone
This one's
noticed.
going
Now, I've
right.
seen guys like Tom Segura,
That
Bert
didn't hit the mark,
Kreischer,
did it?
Andrew Schultz, and obviously Brendan
Let's see
Shaw
what happens.
get
This is his
absolutely
second.
roasted in their comment sections, but I've never quite seen this sort of a backlash against Rogan on an episode of JRE before. First time I felt like Joe was kinda hating. Guy Fieri deserved better. Guy carried this pod hard. Rogan was having an off day. God damn, Joe was the king of bad vibes in this one. Rogan has never been so uninterested and rude to a guest. Is it just me, or does Joe seem kinda uninterested and is being kinda dickish? I want to see Guy go in Theo's podcast. He would get the
Just
love
to
he
the
deserves.
greenside rough here.
Guy was excited to be on this podcast. Joe seemed like he just wanted to take a nap. Props to Guy for remaining energetic and positive throughout the whole pod. Really disappointing how disengaged JR was during this convo, especially since you could tell Guy was pumped to be there. And you really could tell how pumped Guy was to finally be in the studio with Joe and spark up a cigar with the little guy. He was telling Joe how his kids are massive fans of the podcast. He thanked Joe for supporting the president and speaking out against the woke mob. I mean, after all, Rogan is our last line of defense against tyranny. Him and his elite group of top 250 comedy assassins are defending our liberties, one fart joke at a time. The problem is, though, that Rogan's become incredibly inconsistent. And this is something I've been noticing more and more lately. He really has become a moody boomer. This is the guy who got famous for having the most random, out-of-pocket but interesting conversations we've ever heard, entertaining conspiracy theories, alternative theories of history, and of course bringing us the latest pseudo-scientific research the internet has to offer. But when it came to Guy, Rogan just wouldn't give him an inch.
You're not sure about the Dick Tracy had a square watch that looked like an Apple Watch.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. And they would talk to it, and everybody's like, that's not.
Like we should be drinking or something.
Put it on a good line.
Well, did we influence enough Apple people that they just decided to make a square watch and make it look like Dick Tracy's watch? Or did the Dick Tracy thing, did we already make the watch? Or did somebody go back and, I mean, do you ever sit there and trip
this
like
one
that? Definitely
for
don't.
triple
You don't.
bogey.
No, not about that. It's a normal shape for a frame.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to Matrix then. Because I think of the Matrix all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
all right, now let's set our sights
how
to the
real,
next.
how possible is that? We used to watch that cartoon. There was a movie my kid watched when he was little about the people that all went and lived. It wasn't too long ago.
You're currently sitting at 5
about
over.
the people all lived in a spaceship and the little robot and the plant grew and everybody was heavy set. Nobody walked. They were all in space.
The thing, Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should look at that stuff and you're like, wow.
Yeah. That's what's really happening.
Okay, so you didn't buy my Dick Tracy idea, but I think that the other stuff is...
Well, when you think about where this is all headed, there's only a few different directions that one could go to, and simulated reality is good. People that are very uncomfortable with their own lives and want to live a different life, and then you're going to be able to have experiences. Whether they do with an implant or whether they do with a helmet that you wear that sort of interacts with your brain, sends signals into your visual cortex, recreates experiences. It's coming.
You're taking this way past my Dick Tracy watch.
Yeah, look at this robot.
Oh, I saw this yesterday.
Yeah, look at this dancing robot. They're moving like a human moves. And then eventually they're going to realize this human design kind of sucks. Let's make something that's better than a human. Well, it's going to be powered by AI, and AI is not going to probably have the best opinion of us.
Preferably hitting the fairway.
Annoying.
Deep shit. Yeah, it's weird. We're talking about food and cars and...
Yeah,
that's deep.
It's a weird time. It's a weird time for change.
Can we just get through one episode without Rogan ranting about the dangers of AI? Guy just wanted to talk about food and cars, but Joe had to get through his talking points, otherwise he'd have 20 missed calls from his CIA handler, Mike Baker. I wonder how Bucko, Stucco, and Schmucko are doing. Seriously though, how many times have we heard it? Humans are dumb, AI is smart, poor people are going to lose their jobs, but comedians and podcasters are safe because, actually, I have no idea why. That's just what Joe said. But you could tell how Guy was getting frustrated that Rogan wasn't biting on any of his theories, not to mention that Joe seemed kind of low energy and condescending for pretty much the whole podcast. We all know how Rogan will completely sidestep a whole conversation to go into one of his doomsday rants, and then 20 minutes later the guest will be like, wait, what was I saying? And Joe will just shrug his shoulders, puff on his cigar, sip some of his drink, and pop another sin. When it comes to being tone deaf, though, nobody quite does it like Rogan. In this next clip, Rogan had the grace of a drunken elk. And I'm not even exaggerating a little bit when I say this. I haven't laughed this hard in ages. This was easily one of the top 10 funniest moments in JRE history.
My sister died, real close with my sister. And I kept getting this weird feeling. Then the hawk is a representation of my sister. I'm driving my big RV cross country with my family. Every year we do a big, huge road trip. This hawk flies outside of my window.
Okay, 11 feet to deal with. So it looks like it has a little bit of a break to the left.
Gotta be something else. There's no way it can be all this and not
pretty
be
good.
Something more. It really just isn't.
Here's his 6-foot putt.
In the hot tub, I had to have my routine of hot sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, infrared. I do all that. But I'm sitting there, and I keep getting this thing. Gotta call this medium. And I said, hey,
okay,
he comes to you.
To save
she
his
goes,
putt.
yeah. She goes,
And as this round comes to an end,
your dad's been hitting me up quite a bit.
For you.
Your dad's on that guy was talking.
All right, I'm going to head on my way here. I had a lot of fun with
Your
you out there on the
dad.
course.
My
Thank you
dad.
for playing. We'll see you again soon.
She's been hitting her up.
To get in touch with me to make.
Does she know that your father's dead?
She knows my dad. Yeah, she knows my dad. She said, yeah, he's been talking about it. She goes, were you just in Mexico? Yeah. You keep tripping driving something about an owl? There's no way in a million years she would know this.
An owl?
Yeah, that my dad comes back as an owl. So he said it was
What he was saying to her?
me.
To you?
Yeah, this would be.
Before he died, he said, I'm going to come back as an owl.
The owl is the thing. Wise guy.
Okay.
And
owls are dumb as shit.
I don't know.
Is that crazy?
I don't know that I've never seen it smarter than these
No.
kids to me.
No, they're really dumb birds.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
my dad would talk about. Thanks so much, Jimmy.
No, I'm not saying your dad's dumb. I'm just saying it's weird that we all have this idea of owls being wise. It's like the only thing dumber than them is emus. It's like emus are dumb as shit.
I saw emus on a ranch yesterday.
She's like, we have this idea that owls are really smart.
Well, whatever the case is. I hung up a stained glass owl where my dad used to sit in our house in Mexico. I don't know. I'm not cheating or preaching. There's something bigger going on there.
Have you ever heard of this?
I know people are looking at me going, guys, crazy, but it really is there's got to be something.
Have you ever heard of the telepathy thing?
Bro even threw in his sauna and cold plunge routine, and Joe Rogan still wouldn't fight. And what the fuck is an emu? Joe seriously just needed to shut up and let him go with that one. Stopping him to explain that owls are dumb added absolutely nothing to the story other than to make him look like an insensitive douchebag who can't let anything slide. And out of all the things his guests have said over the past few years, and he's just sat there and eaten it up like a good boy, Joe couldn't possibly just let Guy finish his emotional story about connecting with his dead father through a medium. Instead, Rogan completely shut him down and went on a long rant about the telepathy tapes.
All right, let's crack into this one.
Telepathy tapes are this podcast this woman put together from her work with nonverbal autistic kids and their families. Nonverbal autistic kids and their mothers in particular have an incredible, measurable psychic bond. She documented a nonverbal autistic kid who had the ability to read hieroglyphs. They have the ability to read languages that they've never studied. It's a real documented phenomenon that a lot of people are reluctant to believe in. You know, because it's one of those things, you believe in it all, you believe in fairy tales, superstition, you're a sucker. But no, it's real. There's some sort of a bond that exists.
So basically everything Joe just said there is either inaccurate, incomplete, or just made up. The telepathy tapes have been widely ridiculed by the science community for lacking any real comprehensive scientific approach to documenting the claims of telepathic communication. One scientist even showed how the experiments were derived from the rapid prompting method, which means the researchers and parents directed the kids where to point on the board. And that's not even getting into the theories that the kids can communicate with ghosts and access strange powers through crystals. Rogan believed every word that Kai Dickens told him about the hieroglyphics, even though it was all based on a second-hand email.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's one young girl I'm thinking of in particular, but there's this, again, this has come up now with, I don't know, 15 non-speakers that I've met. You know, she will work during the day with a paraprofessional and a spelling coach. You know, there's in the education system, there might be 2 or 3 people in the room, and 3 people who are in the room this day. And she started spelling in a language, and they didn't know what it is, so they looked it up, and it's Portuguese. And she also said she knew hieroglyphics. And
what?
Yeah. And then they were like, well, how do we test this? Because if we know the answer, she'll read our mind and know. So they had to just...
Which is wild.
Okay, here's the feather. I mean, I don't know whatever
yeah.
feather on top of a stone or whatever the picture was of. And here's this picture and this picture, and then she identified them. And then they looked them up, and they were right.
Wow, all of them 100% accurate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying, of course not.
What the hell is going on? That's beyond bizarre. Did you give her tune for him?
I mean, I wasn't there for this. Her mom reported it to me, and it has the email that she received from the staff. And so, the staff is just like, this is what happened today. A good spelling coach will ask the child first, right? Is it okay if I share this with your parents, or is this private between us or whatever? But if they say it's okay to share, they will write a letter home, and this is what happened, and that was in the letter home. This is what happened today.
That's enough evidence for Joe, but Guy's dead dad coming back as a dumb owl is nonsense. I don't know what's going on with Rogan's bullshit detector these days. Maybe he needs to change the batteries or start drinking again and eating carbs. Who knows? But the way he shut Guy down because owls are stupid is funnier than anything he's ever done on stage. And that includes the school humping. Anyway, massive shout out to all of you who came over here from my main channel and subscribed. If you're new here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to this channel as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
So long story short, Lori and I were pregnant, 8.5 months.
You were pregnant too?
Yeah, well, that's what I call it. I held the baby with.
So then, if Tom had sold 5 comedy specials to them and been invited to their biggest live comedy roast in history, why couldn't he pitch them his new show, Bad Thoughts?
I always like movies, like features, right? But it's a huge undertaking to get a feature made. But I like a short film because it feels like you're making a movie, like a mini movie, right?
Right.
And it feels much more accessible to do. So I had written all these like short stories, short films. And I called my friend Rami Tashash and I was like, hey, I have a break coming up on the tour. Let's do this short film. Because we've done other things before. He's like, what if we do 3? I was like, how can we do 3? He's like, we'll shoot like 11 days for that. We can do this. We shot those 3. It was a theater thing. Like the phone show. Like, what if we did a show that was based on short stories, like short films basically. And I don't know, there was another few that were in the original. And when I sent them in Netflix, they were like, this is insane. But we made 6 episodes. Yeah, they were just like, this is great. But it's been the most fun.
Thank God Tom Segura is a multi-millionaire who runs a podcast studio and has connections throughout the industry, because otherwise, by his own admission, his show never would have been made. But the road to getting Netflix to buy his new idea wasn't as simple as he was just making it out to be. This wasn't just some idea he had last year and threw together with his buddy who helped him produce 3 of the stories to pitch to Netflix. This goes back at least 3 years ago.
How this AI voiceover feature allows you to turn your words into voices you never thought you had.
Was there a part of shooting Bad Thoughts where you were heavier, like one sketch where you were heavy?
Yeah.
What sketch was that? I saw one sketch, you looked fatter than the other sketches.
Yeah, because I shot it 3 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah, that was when I shot the pilot, there was no deal. I just shot it on my own. And it's notable. And I kept bringing it up. I was like, shouldn't we make like a comment about it? It's that one, the coffee. And everyone was like, no. You know how other people are like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, you don't think people will notice this? And they're like, no. I'm like, how could they not notice? I'm 40 pounds heavier. And they're like, I don't think anyone will notice.
Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. I noticed it straight away and thought they must have put Tom in a fat suit. But it checks out that he shot the cafe story as a pilot episode 3 years ago in the hopes of getting a deal. So then why did it take 3 years to get Netflix to buy? And not only that, why did he have to go and shoot 3 more in addition to the pilot for them to take a look at it when he'd been doing deals with them for over a decade already? Clearly, Netflix weren't prepared to take a risk on Tom's idea without seeing it on screen, as opposed to a short pitch meeting with a script, which is how most shows and movies are made these days. Having said that, it's not unheard for young directors and producers to make a short film, or even just shoot a couple of scenes for a studio before getting the green light. Actually, fun fact, Harvey Weinstein was one of the first Hollywood producers to travel around the world to film festivals and buy up the options to short films so he could sell them to studios as feature films. True story. Anyway, lucky for Tom Segura, he didn't have to go down that route with Harvey Weinstein because he's got millions of dollars burning a hole in his pocket to spend on producing his own showreel for all the suits over at Netflix. After all, he never wanted to be a comedian in the first place. His heart was set on Hollywood from the beginning.
Sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, of what your dream, like your original dream, And my dream when I moved to LA had nothing to do with stand-up. I never thought of stand-up. That was my whole thing. I wanted to do comedy movies, and I had like my own blueprint for how I would do it. I was like, I'll go to the Groundlings. SNL would definitely hire me from there. Like, this is like my 21-year-old brain. And then I'll do that for a couple of years, and then I'll do movies. Like, I thought that was a logical game plan to end up in movies. But the dream of doing something like movies, which is like, this feels like to me like they sent me to film school and they were like making the movies. I was working like 16-hour days doing this thing, and I would come home and Christine would be like, I have never seen you so energized after working all goddamn day. So you come home and that's cool. I was like, yeah, I'm having fun. I'm having so much fun. Really?
That shows you're doing the right thing.
I think so.
Who knew Tom was so fucking miserable until now? But when I heard him explaining the background to his show with Rogan, a few things started to make sense. You know how he'd always wanted to be an actor, he sort of fell into stand-up comedy while he was doing a screenwriting course, and then found some success through his friendship with Joe after the rise of JRE. We all know that Tom is one lucky bastard. Think back to 2023 when Tom had his Twitter meltdown at the airport after he was forced to check his bag in and carried on abusing American Airlines for 2 days after it happened, and then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, he deleted every tweet he posted from October in 2023. Now, if you've been following my main channel, Podcast Cringe, you'll know that Tom changed after that went down. He barely mentioned it, he didn't really address it, and he started to become more introverted and retreated back into his shell. We went from Tom the arrogant rich asshole to Tom the boring rich asshole in the space of 2 to 3 months.
We are getting ready to have a bit of fun here. 3 holes, matchmaking challenge. Let's get it going. Hopefully you have a good one out there. Look at you. Just
before Netflix would entertain doing a TV show deal with him, and after they'd agreed to see what he had to offer, he then had to shoot another 3 episodes to show them what he had in mind. This whole thing reminds me of how Joe Rogan bought his way into the Stand-Up Comedy Hall of Fame by buying a comedy club in Austin and declaring it the center of the comedy universe just 6 months after it opened. All he had to do was plaster his comedy special album on the wall with all the greats, and he became a certified comedy legend. But now that Tom's got his foot in the door with Netflix, he's not looking back.
How this tee shot fares for him.
I'm doing one this summer.
Yeah?
I'm doing a movie this summer, yeah.
What are you doing?
It's a crazy fucking comedy. It hasn't been announced yet, so you know how they are about that. But it's a wild R-rated comedy.
Oh, tell me about it afterwards, then.
Okay, yeah.
Haha, everybody else.
Yeah, no, I can't. I would love to talk about it, but
you know that was your original dream. I've been known you forever.
I know, yeah. It was. I guess I was probably like, I kind of was resigned to that's not going to happen, too. You know, not like.
All right,
I mean, the other thing is like,
second.
dude, every time I'm out on the road, you know, I get a call. Hey, they want to see you for this part. Here's the offer, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on tour. Like, I can't move in the United Center. Well, if I'm always touring, I'm just never going to be able to do
Other people's stuff.
Yeah, and so it also kind of, I got excited about, you know, having the summer off and I could do something, and then my tour, the current tour I'm on, will end in December, and I'm leaving 26 wide open. I'll still do like what I do, which is like go into your club or book some club weekends, which are kind of like low, you know, stress kind of things where you go like,
Right.
I'm just going to go work out.
Yeah.
So I'll try to keep the muscle fresh, but I won't book like a tour.
Yeah.
By the way,
This
if you want
shot's
to see
about
Tom
150
do
yards
stand up
out.
live, this is your last opportunity. I'm being dead serious, and you know that I'm kind of accurate. You will not tour easily for another 2 years after this. Easily, and I will be shocked if you tour at all ever again. Ever again? Me?
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
Safely
yeah.
on the
I
green.
love you.
No, but you're doing it from home, and you're not going to tour.
I'll do that.
See, even Bert knows that Tom's checked out. This honestly makes so much sense now. How many times have you heard me say in my videos that Tom's changed, he's boring now, he's on autopilot, he's playing it safe. Even when he goes on other podcasts to promote his stuff,
All right, good
he's
luck
also
here. You've
playing
got
it safe.
22
Remember
feet to
how he
go.
went on Bobby Kelly's podcast back
This
in
one's
December of
going hard to the
2023, shortly after the airport meltdown, and went completely silent and refused to answer the question about how many cars he has? Tom clearly has a public image problem. I was watching his recent appearance on the Hooverman Lab, and almost
zip
all
right
the
by it,
comments were
didn't
just shitting on Tom for being arrogant and hating on poor
Here's his
people
look for birdie.
and just not being funny in
Looks
general.
like this one's breaking
So
to the
I
left.
think he's definitely trying to shake that image now and make a move to Hollywood, not to mention the fact that he clearly hates his life. Tom Segura is the quintessential depressed rich guy
almost.
who can't find happiness in normal life anymore. I'm with Bert on this one.
About
He's closer
6
to Tom than
feet
any of
here.
us, so he clearly knows that Tom's checking out and making a run for the Hollywood Hills. And what could be more perfect for Tom than switching from comedy podcaster to Hollywood comedian, where he'll no longer have to sit in front of a microphone every week for several hours, pretending to be a normal human being. I reckon he's a perfect fit for Hollywood. Fuck it, let him have him. Anyway, massive shout out to all of you who came over from my main channel, Podcast Cringe, and subscribed to this channel. You guys are absolute legends, and if you're new here,
All right, let's tap her on in and continue on our way.
Sign up in seconds. It's about time insurance does that.
And
get a quote at
lemonade.com.
Start.
I can't believe this is a thing.
After the first
Whatever
hole,
parent from whether it's the other team or our team or whoever cousin sent this to these outlets, you're a piece. What are you doing? What are you doing, man? What are you doing? This isn't a thing. I'm probably high strung right now, dealing with the move and Cal not showing up this week, you know, firing a kid, you know, and building the studio and shipping 1 million cars out to Texas. Look at me next to those two guys. I look like Ronnie Coleman, Jesus Christ. So I'm jacked right now. I'm jacked, baby.
Dude, Brendan Schaub's back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. His whole thing has blown up in his face, and as usual, it's almost entirely his fault. See, this doesn't really have anything to do with his son's baseball game and how he got ejected after attempting to intimidate the umpire after what looks to be a bad call. This is about how Brendan manages to sabotage every situation he finds himself in, making it worse in the process, and then somehow he finds a way to brag about it. But for those of you who have been following the Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen move to Texas over on my main channel, you'll know that I've made some pretty bold predictions, which a lot of you seem to agree with. The first was that he would move to Texas after the LA fires. The second one was a little bit
off on
Long
that swing.
story short, Blind Freddy could see that once Brian Callen got to Austin and started mingling with Joe Rogan's selected group of comedy mothership green room assassins, it would be only a matter of time before he ditched Brendan and committed to doing comedy full-time. Brendan hasn't even made it to Texas yet, and it's already happening. Honestly, I didn't think it would happen this quick, but as soon as I noticed there was no fighter in the kid upload today, I just thought that Brendan's tied up with the move, because we knew he was going to move this week. But then he revealed on the Schaub show that Brian didn't fly back to LA this week to record the show, and everything fell into place. Callen, the dirty dog, already has one foot out the door. Oh man, I am so here for this. Just quickly though, a massive shout out to all of you who have come over here from my main channel, Podcast Cringe, and subscribed to this new channel. You guys are absolute legends. I appreciate each and every one of you, so thank you so much for helping to get this channel off the ground so fast. It literally hasn't even been a week yet. But enough pillow talk, let's talk baseball. Well, kids baseball. Actually, it's not even Little League, it's Rec League. Jesus.
The boy doesn't always get thrown out of Little League games, but when I do, I make it count. I coach my son's Rec League team, and it's the playoffs. And I don't say much because, I know I'm Shrek out there, so they're very intimidating. This game had high-level emotion. He was definitely sided with the other team. The other team was really chummy with him, like buddy. I'm like, this is weird. We weren't getting the same calls. Again, I don't say anything. I'm not trying to be any sort of factor in the game, or cause any issues. I'm just really there for my son and the team. That's it. Very rare. I get along with everybody. Meet the other coaches. I know everybody. Everything's all good.
But everything was not all good, because as Brendan would later admit, he was bummed out that one of the other parents decided to post the video online, knowing that it would eventually make its way into the fighter and the kids subreddit and then onto YouTube. So when he's saying everything's all good, everyone's cool, and they all get along, he means the exact opposite. But more on that in a moment. Let's actually look at what happened.
Okay, he's got a a very long putt here. Let's see how he does. Looks like this putt will track a bit to the right. Ooh, looks like he's put it on a pretty good line. Continues to be on line. Oh, and the putt won't go. And if he sinks this, it'll be for birdie.
Okay, so apparently the umpire was making bad calls all day. He warned Brendan, who is the first base coach, and then when Brendan's son slid into home plate, the catcher didn't tag him properly, but the umpire called it out. Your boy Buffer then sees that his son's upset. He looks over to the umpire in what could be perceived as an aggressive approach. I mean, like Brendan will keep reminding us in this video, he's well aware of his size compared to the volunteer umpire. He says a few words, backs away once he realizes he's completely out of line, and then some absolute legend clipped up the live stream and put it online. Seriously, if you were the one who got the clip, hit me up so I can personally thank you for your service. Now let's just be honest here, guys, this isn't really a big deal. Sure, it's poor form from Brendan, but he's a competitive guy. His emotions got the better of him, and he wanted to intimidate the umpire. Buffer's a bully, this we all know. So when this blew up on Reddit over the weekend, I sat back and said to myself, I cannot wait for the short show this week because if there's one thing we know about our boy, it's that he knows how to make a bad situation worse. Much worse. And just like one of Rogan's $250,000 mechanical watches, Brendan was right on time.
I was more embarrassed than anything. Like, oh no. Like, come on, dude. Like, what are you doing? So then I walked away. Tiger has a bad attitude because his dad got thrown out, which drives me nuts. Whatever parent from whether it's the other team or our team or whoever cousin sent this to these outlets, you're a piece of shit. What are you doing? What are you doing, man? What are you doing? This isn't a thing.
Let's see how he does on this hole.
Talk to any dad whose kids played rec or travel ball, got through baseball, and they manage or they coach a team. This happens all the time, man. This shouldn't be news. This isn't anything.
Let's go.
If your dad managed your team and they get thrown out, he didn't do about it. Or the game. It wasn't like I was in the phase arguing. No. I realize I'm bigger than 90% of the people out there. I already know these people are going to be on their heels. I'm the last person to
Those shots are going to happen.
He's a smaller dude, and out of shape. I realize I'm built like a shack next to this guy. So I already know he's on his heels. And when I come walking up, he's like, Jesus Christ. I already know that. So I'm like, whoa. I don't yell. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm trying to be cool, but it is what it is. The biggest thing is, them reporting this. Like, what the f*** going? It's a rec league, man.
So that video feed, not like you have to be a part of it. Yeah, that's strange.
That's what bugs me out. That's what bugs me out.
Chris loves flying, and he loves helping others soar to new heights too. So he built a course on Kajabi that turned his passion
this
into
might
a
not
business.
get there.
That took off into a community where aspiring pilots share their progress, gain confidence, and navigate their journey.
Okay, out of the bunker, you got good distance. We're in the fairway. That's ticking all the boxes.
Into an entrepreneur.
All right, he's getting ready to fire away with his second shot.
Tiger's not aware of any of it.
Watching Brendan realize that someone on his team leaked a clip and probably doesn't like him is a pitcher's delight. Don't forget, he's in the business of likability, so it's a problem. But I can't emphasize enough that Brendan does stuff like this because he knows he's bigger, stronger, and obviously more skilled when it comes to combat than the other guy. The mental gymnastics is crazy. He's basically saying that once he got closer and realized the guy was shorter than him and out of shape, he backed away and let it go. What he really means is he saw that the umpire was an easy victim, so then he decided to walk over to him and then intimidate him. That's straight up bully behavior. We know he likes to pick on easy targets like Brian Callen and his producer Chin, but when he got called out by Nate Diaz, who's literally almost half his size, he backed away. That's the type of energy we're dealing with here.
And they're choosing 6 iron here.
Ronnie Coleman, Jesus Christ. So I'm jacked right now, dude. I'm fucking jacked, baby.
There you go, guys. Right there, he just could not help himself. That's what I mean with this guy. He's so incredibly transparent. He's got the emotional maturity of a teenage boy. If you want to know what Buffer's really thinking, you just got to watch closely and wait long enough until the truth slips out. His ego always reveals the truth. I mean, his lawyers had to save him from the truth last year after he opened his big mouth and sabotaged his lawsuit. But that's another story, because, as usual, the hypocrisy got worse.
I don't care if he strikes out, if he walks kids, hits kids, effort, as long as effort's there. And I tell him, the difference between the people that go on to play in high school and the outliers in college and the lucky ones that get to the pros doing a lot of work, it's the athletic ability he has. Check. We got that. He was born with that. You didn't earn that. You were born with that. Check. You're gonna be an outlier athletically and size-wise. You did nothing to earn that. The difference is between the ears. The best guys I know are so mentally strong here, especially in baseball. It's between the ears. The best baseball players are the smartest guys on the field. So when his mental game is in the dumps and he has an attitude, then I get upset. Now Papa Bear comes out. Now we have an issue. It's strikes and home runs and stealing, but I don't give up, dude. It's about the journey. I don't care about any of that. When he starts pouting or he gets an attitude, dude, or he's arguing with the umps, not that he argues, but he'll be like, "That's a strike." I'm like, "Buddy, it doesn't matter." But he's 9, dude. He's not gonna be in Kobe Bryant mama mentality at 9, So you gotta give him a break. Yeah, if your dad's a little league coach and you get thrown out, you can give him a break.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Brendan's trying to teach his kid that he's lucky he was born with athletic genetics, but that's not enough. He's got to get his head in the game and manage his emotions and not worry about all the little indiscretions on the field. Instead, he's got to focus on the big picture and get the job done. All right, guys. Honestly, that sounds like some pretty good advice. So then why did you think his son, literally, the exact opposite example by walking down the umpire after a bad throw? That's precisely what he's been teaching his kids not to do. And then he adds at the end, wait for it, if your daddy never got a
Okay, positive thoughts. Let's save card right here. We've got a pretty steep left to right break.
People can see it. Some of the plants do. The only reason I post is
Use a little bit more power, I think. 11 feet to the cup for him.
Once it makes news and
it looks
they
like
start
this one's breaking
getting out
right
there
to
and
left.
treading, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna let you run the story. Here's what's going on. Really, it's an improv and not based. I'll take accountability. Very high strong, dealing with the move.
And a 7-foot putt for
Showing
him.
up this week, finding a kid, and building the studio and shipping 1 million cars out to Texas and doing the Airbnb, And I got the Airbnb because we were supposed to leave, but first team's in the playoffs.
Right,
so
3 feet to the cup.
we go to the championship. I got to stay longer. I'm living an Airbnb. Think that's cool, man. And this up's like, yeah, you're out of here. Okay, dude.
And let's see, he's setting up now, 2-footer.
I love that line. Literally, it's a him problem, not me, but I'll take accountability. Bro, what? Then we got all these excuses about how he's not in a good headspace at the moment. Brian Callen abandoned him and didn't show up to the studio to record the fighter and the kid. He's stressed about the move to Texas. It's taking its toll on the whole family. So instead of being a rock and guiding his family through a tough time, he lets his emotions get in the way and looks for an opportunity to stroke his ego in front of all the other baseball dads. Except one of them hates him and leaked the clip. Seriously, someone get this guy some milk. Anyway, while you're here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to see more content, head over to my main channel for longer, more in-depth videos. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I'm doing fun.
This one's heading left.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video, an absolute hoot and a holler. In today's video, we're talking about a very, very recent shroom trip that I had. It was a very good time, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also make sure you go follow me on Instagram. I just started posting reels, man. What are you waiting on? Listen, I hired an editor. We have expanded the Goblin team, ladies and gentlemen. So go follow me on Instagram. Check out the reels. Check me out on TikTok. All that stuff's going to be linked below. TikTok keeps banning me, dude. I guess you can't even say the word weed on there, or you just, like, get banned. Crazy stuff. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. And without further ado, let's dive right into it. Actually, I was lying to y'all. I do have further ado. I have an upcoming video that's kind of like a podcast-style interview where I sit down and talk to a cannabis nonprofit here in Illinois about how screwed the market is here. It's a pretty dope interview, and we also smoked in it. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I just want to kind of gas it up in advance because it's a little different from my normal content. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let's dive right into it. So unlike a lot of my stories where I say, oh, this happened a couple years ago, this happened 2.5 weeks ago, ladies and gentlemen. You see, a couple weeks ago, I had some friends of mine who were in town visiting for Thanksgiving. It was kind of like a big reunion. And one thing that me and all my friends did quite a few times was go to the casino. You see, the casino was a very fun time. There was one a couple towns over from us. It was like a 20-30-minute drive. And it was very sleazy. I mean, they had a lot of old people. You would go in there and they're banging on the machines, pissed off. People are losing money left and right. They're angry. It was one of those kind of depressing casinos, you know? But when I went with my homies, I was introduced to playing Baccarat. I have never, actually played Baccarat for money before. And I enjoyed it, you know? So after my friends had left town and I was chilling and I was bored one evening, I decided that I was going to go to the casino and play Baccarat again. I had woken up that day, you know, it had been about a week since my friends had left, and I was just like, you know what? We're fucking going to play Baccarat today. Like we're going for it. So I'm sitting at the crib chilling out, and I decide that there's no better way to enhance my Baccarat experience than take some shrooms. I want to go see the big shiny lights on the slot machines, probably lose some money, but have a blast doing it because I'm tripping. I also didn't want to be tripping too hard where I couldn't make a logical bet. So I was sitting there trying to figure out the rational amount of chocolates to take. I have these really specific chocolates that I get every time from a certain brand. And when I get these chocolates, listen, they're different, okay? I've had a lot of shroom chocolates before. I take a good amount of shrooms nowadays. It's honestly one of my favorite substances currently. I don't trip super duper often, but I microdose a lot. But I get these chocolate bars, and they're these triangle shaped, and they're super dope, and they're extremely strong. You see, the labeling on the back is deceptive. They tell you that 3 pieces is like a full trip. It's a lie, but not in the way of like, oh, it's a lie, they're too weak. It's a lie in the sense of I've taken 2 pieces and accidentally tripped more times than I can count at this point. Because I'll be sitting there kind of fucked up, kind of stoned, and I'll be like, well, 1 piece is too little, and then I take 2, and I just hope that it's not going to beat my fucking ass. And I'd say not 9, but 8 times out of 10, it beats my fucking ass. So, I take a couple pieces of this chocolate, and I'm getting ready to call my Uber over to the casino. Normally I would drive, but I had already dropped off my car to get wrapped. So I didn't really feel like driving the Kia because it needed gas and it wasn't really fun to drive. So I was like, fuck it, dude. Let's just take an Uber, you know? That way I can get more fucked up. We can get there, have some drinks, and I'll make some ridiculous-ass pets. So I downed my couple pieces of chocolate, and I called my Uber, and I'm chilling waiting for my ride. My Uber comes and picks me up, and this man, holy shit. Listen, I've been in some Ubers that they take some steps for prevention, right? Like, they don't want to get COVID or whatever. This guy literally had a solid plastic screen, like, from your feet all the way up to the ceiling, like, fitted to his car, so you could not even touch the man. Like, it was crazy. There was no little air gap, at least that I could see, or anything. I felt like I was going to jail, dude. I was in the fucking paddy wagon. I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, I really hope the shrooms don't hit in this fucking prison cell, man. This sucks. And you know what? If I was sealed into a tube in the backseat of a car and it was a nice car, then we would be chilling. But it wasn't. It was some, like, really old Honda with the cloth seats, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, someone's probably puked on this, you know? Shit, man. Like, no seat cover on the cloths in the Uber. I mean, damn, that's crazy. But either way, I hop in the ride, you know, we get going, and I brought some goodies with me, you know? I prepared to go to the casino. I brought a couple pre-rolls in my pocket. I brought a couple extra pieces of chocolate. I brought, you know, a little bit of cash with me so I didn't have to use the casino ATMs and get shit on, because a lot of times they'll have fees, you know. And also, I feel like you just don't want to be standing at the casino ATM having everyone watch you take a bunch of money out, you know. I'll just keep the money in my pocket the whole time. That's the best way to do it. So either way, this casino is also in like a slightly questionable area. If you drive like 5 minutes in 3 out of the 4 directions you could go from to the casino, you're in the trenches. So it's just, I don't really want to be at the ATM in there, you know, but I want to play the baccarat. So either way, we get the Uber ride, we're chilling in the Uber, and you know, it's a normal ride. Don't really say shit, but it was a good ride. You know, I get out and I'm ready to rumble. I get into the casino, they let me in, they give me my little stamp on my hand. It feels like I'm getting into like a little amusement park or like a petting zoo. I've got the little stamp on my hand, you know? It's like I'm a kid again, except this time I'm a degenerate and I'm fucked up, you know? Or about to be fucked up. I mean, I'm not quite fucked up yet, but we're getting to the fun now. So, I get in the casino and immediately go to the bar. I didn't come with anyone with me. That's how you know that despite the fact that I stopped doing all the hard drugs, I still have that degenerate in me, deep inside of me, you know? So I go to the bar and I order the signature drink. They have a couple different mixed drinks you can get, but they have this like lemon fizz drink, and it's very good. I don't know what's in it. I don't really ask, but it's fire. It tastes like a pink lemonade, you know? And by the way, what the fuck even is pink lemonade? Because you can't have pink lemons. So what is that shit? Can anyone clarify? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But either way, I was just thinking about that. Like, what? Like, real shit? What actually is pink lemonade, bro? That's not, like, it's not lemonade. Like, there might be lemonade as a base component of it, but, like, that's not lemonade. All right, but either way. So I get my lemon...
Okay.
Now, before I tell you about what I discovered, I have to complete the scene that I told you. Now, I called the Minister of Culture and I told him, we found an intact tomb.
I can just picture him back in Egypt, riding around on a camel with a cigar in his mouth, watching the sun set behind his beloved pyramids, puffing away like a boss. Seriously, how can you hate this guy? Okay, let's forget the cigars for now, because if you're wondering why he popped such a massive backlash from Rogan's audience, it's because he basically shut down any theory that he didn't agree with, and yet provided almost no evidence to back himself up, other than for everyone to buy his book. At one point, he promised to email Jamie some photos of the tools he was talking about, but apparently never got around to it, so Jamie threw up some text on the screen when he was editing to tell everyone that he never came through. This guy is basically the Egyptian Flint Dibble, except for some reason, despite having a bunch of university degrees, he couldn't decide whether or not he's a scientist.
I am not a scientist. I took this techniques that they used and I gave it to expertise. Now I am again I'm not a scientist.
Right, so why are you dismissing it, though?
I gave what they published to a scientist, and they said that's not true.
Okay, but scientists are wrong all the time, particularly ones that are biased.
I never heard of it, and I don't want to hear about it.
You don't want to hear about it?
No, why? Because there is no evidence. I am a scientist. I believe on what's written in front of me, and I believe of a scene that I can see.
So you don't believe in ancient civilizations capable of advanced construction.
But Joe,
you don't believe in aliens.
Joe, I
don't believe in
I am a scientist.
Oh.
If you believe in something, write an article. Then I can read. But don't give me a theory.
But the theory
I have been debating Graham Hancock and Robert Papal and John Anthony West, and I told them from the beginning, your theory will go with the wind.
Yeah, it didn't take him long to go full hostile with Rogan, and it's funny because you could actually see the point where Joe realized that he was dealing with someone who had a political agenda. I'm sure Dr. Zahi is proud of his heritage, which he should be, and he's got honest and good intentions when it comes to educating the world about the pyramids, but he also worked in government positions for most of his career, even being appointed Minister of Antiquities in the Egyptian government at one point. So, it's kind of obvious why he's unwilling to entertain any theory of how the pyramids were built, other than the Egyptian people did it with their own tools over decades with tens of thousands of workers. The funny thing is, though, Dr. Zahi is quick to dismiss that aliens had anything to do with it, or some ancient advanced civilization such as the ones proposed by Graham Hancock, but he's more than willing to accept that there was some magic involved. This is where he completely lost Rogan. After this, it didn't take long for Joe to say his thank yous and wrap things up.
I will tell you.
You will tell me how it was built?
Of course.
Okay.
How
do you know?
How do you know?
How do you know?
I found all the evidence of building the pyramid. We published a book, 1,000 pages. This book is the Bible of the pyramids of Giza planet.
Saying that they took these stones, they waited for the flood season, they got the stones on rafts, they moved them down the river, they got them to the site. How did they get them 120 feet in the air?
You know, again, this is the most important thing. This is the national project.
Oh, I understand.
The boats, no technology.
Well, technology is tool.
Huge wooden stitches.
Huge wooden sledges.
This is the only way that today we move huge stones. This is how my workmen moved 20 tons of sarcophagus in a tool.
But you believe in magic.
I do. Of course you do believe in magic. Yeah.
So you believe that someone could take someone's head off, put it back on?
It's written.
Okay, then it must be true.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. What is this? I'm gonna kill a dog?
I was just reading it. Apparently in the trick that he did it, he put the head on the other side of the room, made them come back together. He did it to a calf and a different animal.
Now, what really I want to tell you now,
that person's
now, what I want to show you is that I'm not a person.
What do you think magic is?
Magic is magic. What do you mean magic is?
Well, how does it work?
I have no idea. The belief of the afterlife built Egypt.
Right. But they also had to have
understanding
if you come engineering and construction and design.
This was the national project.
No, I understand the national project, but they have to have knowledge.
You can talk about this pyramid if it exists alone. But when you come to Egypt and you go to the time, you will see that everything gradual. There is no gap for anyone. To think something different than the belief of the Egyptians.
Well, I don't think anybody's saying that.
Oh,
well, maybe some people are. Maybe some people do. But, I mean, it's all the Egyptians, obviously. It was in Egypt. I mean, it's the Egyptians, I think. It's pretty obvious. That just seems obvious.
Then if you leave it,
well,
I'm happy to hear it.
So I think when Rogan was talking about technology, Dr. Zahi thought he was alluding to some advanced technology from aliens or some advanced civilization that had traveled to Egypt. Rogan clearly just wanted to know what tools the Egyptians had that allowed them to wrangle all those massive stone blocks. But the whole magic thing is just weird. So apparently in ancient Egypt mythology, King Khufu was sad because he didn't know how he was going to build his pyramid and, prepare his tomb. So one of his sons told him about a magician who was able to cut off a man's head and then reattach it successfully. So the son got the magician to show his dad, the king, how he could do this with a goose, which subsequently came back to life after he reattached the head. And so the story goes that this was the magical prophecy that helped King Khufu build the Pyramid of Giza and fulfill his destiny, etc., etc. That's how far Dr. Zahi is willing to go to protect his theory that the Egyptians did everything themselves, even though he can't explain what tools they used or provide any evidence of how an ancient civilization were able to build the pyramids. Instead, it's just magic. And that's why there's so much hate for this guy. People see him as an Egyptian pyramid gatekeeper who's just there to promote his own theories and serve the national identity, refusing to entertain alternative theories out of fear that it might discredit his own culture and heritage. As soon as Rogan realized that he was talking to a propagandist, he basically threw in the towel and wrapped it all up. I still thought the whole podcast was entertaining, though whatever his views and theories are, you can't deny that this guy was funny as fuck. Anyway, make sure you subscribe to my channel here on YouTube as well as my main channel, Podcast Fringe, and don't forget to hit the like button while you're here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
Great tasting Vibations cannabis and electrolyte drink mix gives you advanced hydration, fast acting.
I find all these things because I watch all of the podcast breakdown. I said it's my first time being here, but I know the set so well because you guys have a great podcast for the Podcast Fringe and comedy.
Oh, they love it.
Well, they're not even attacking you guys at all. It's a good show for them to go with whoever the guest is.
Yeah, he goes bird embarrass himself. That came out like an hour after the episode came out. These guys are fucking on it.
Embarrassing himself.
That's it. Embarrassing.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Right there.
Don't give them attention.
Yeah, you're right.
Already watched it. I don't want them to know guess.
I'm 18 minutes into it.
Comedians coping with criticism has basically become a subgenre of comedy at this point. Who would have thought that the biggest trolls on the planet couldn't handle a bit of their own medicine? The list of podcast comedians losing their minds because somebody hurt their feelings is seemingly growing by the day. From Joe Rogan to Tony Hinchcliffe, Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, Andrew Schultz, and basically everyone else in between. But I'm actually a fan of Mark Normand and Sam Morrill's We Might Be Drunk podcast, where they have a comedian guest on the show and feed them drinks until they open up like a flower, or in Bert Kreischer's case, a bag of stale Doritos. And so on their last episode, they had Big J in the studio, who also looks like he smells like Doritos and sardines. But as it turns out, he subscribes to my channel to keep up with all his buddies' shenanigans. And he ended up having a pretty fair take on podcast commentary channels and why we exist. However, I don't think Mark Normand gets enough credit for being an absolute savage in this space. He's definitely on the endangered list of comedians who understand the concept of doing a comedy podcast. Things have gotten so bad that it's basically become an elite